Ghana Means Business, brought to you by Goil. Goil, good energy.
Ghana Means Business. Your story, our message.
Excellency, at what time did you enter politics? When did you feel there was politics in your blood? And when did you begin...
see, politics is about power.
Okay.
And I was born into power.
That is true.
I saw in my father's house, in my mother's house, in my Asante's house, my uncle Adumihine, in Kariahine, all of them. Everywhere I went, you saw people coming with their problems. You saw how reconciliation was worked out. I saw projects and so forth and so on. And I was born and I grew so subconsciously. I perhaps felt always that the job I had to do was, if you like, political.
So,
but and then the subjects that I came to like academically are all sort of involved politics. If you have law already under the belt, you add philosophy, you add politics, you add economics, and you do not aspire to be in politics, then what are you doing all those things for?
That is true.
So it was there always. But in time, then when I came back to Ghana, 1962, to find that the economy was already getting wobbly. Before into independence, Ghana's economy was quite stout, strong. But 1962, things were getting out of shape.
So in Nkrumah, at this time, the CPP government was in control.
Yes.
Excellency, for some of us who are too young to remember, or some of us who have to read about this, can you share with us the mood at this time? Was there political freedom? Was there freedom for other political parties to exist?
I talked of the National Liberation Movement in Kumasi. And 1954, the division that had been rising between Nkrumah, CPP, one side, and the UGCC metamorphosed into Congress Party that sent Buzia to Parliament, because UGCC, after 1951, had been sort of flawed by Nkrumah. So Buzia, through Congress Party, was like a lone ranger in Parliament, or Assembly then. By 1954, Asante had become disillusioned, because Asante, the main cocoa grower for Ghana, the youth, most of them had gone to CPP, including people like Victor Osu, Joe Appiah, Aram Ponce. They were all CPP.
Victor Osu had gone to CPP?
Oh, they were all CPP.
The
youth. Nkrumah's charm, his real strength started with the CYO, the Committee of Youth Organizations.
I see.
51 elections that CPP swept had been done with promise to cocoa farmers that their cocoa producer price would be increased. I think from 250 pounds a ton or so in those times. And the farmers expected that now, with Nkrumah Prime Minister, he would increase the price. But by 1954, they were not getting the price. And not only that, Ashanti, with a strong sense of tradition and old culture, chieftaincy, felt Nkrumah, with his leftism, left-of-center politics, threatened the value systems of the Asantes. Akans, I would say. There was a by-election in Achuman Obieja, which became my constituency.
Yes.
BM's brother-in-law, but that is my uncle-in-law, called John Bedu, who was the CPP, a member of the Assembly or Legislative Assembly, died in an accident. So there was a by-election in Achumangobieja. John Bedu was the MP for Achumangobieja. And the opposition, people who disagreed with Nkrumah, seized on this by-election, and NLM was formed, National Liberation Movement.
So that was where it was formed?
That was where it was formed.
Achumangobieja.
Achumangobieja was the test case. So, and when John Bedu died, the opposition groups, Buzia, of course, leading, Dankwa was not in parliament, but was part of it. They put up a candidate, B.F. Kusi, from Achumangobieja. And the CPP put up another Kufuor, V.K. Kufuor, was named after the great Kufuor, Nanankawe and Kwabena Kufuor, but married to Kwabena Kufuor's daughter too.
I see.
Was the CPP person from Nkawe. And the whole of the opposition to Nkrumah then descended on Achumangobieja to back B.F. Kusi against B.K. Kufuor. And B.F. Kusi beat the CPP man. That was what really galvanized the opposition, National Liberation Movement. And the slogan of NLM was Ubeto Bibia Koko. Ubeko Skua Koko. And it was all geared at, more or less, showing Nkrumah up as against the farmer. Nkrumah promised, Nkrumah failed. So that's how NLM. And I was then going to secondary school. So I saw, and the head office was in my home. And that's how I also came to see, a bit of Dankwa. I never got the chance, but for instance, I saw Dankwa on platform at Prince of Wales Park, Kejetia.
Okay.
When they launched the NLM, big way, and all, we are right to see Dankwa singing on the platform.
The great J.B. Dankwa.
Fantastic. He strummed the guitar, for instance. Yeah, he was a man of parts. And of course, Buzia came to see. Victor was like brother. Joapia, Amponsa, all of them. I was talking about Ghana, Gold Coast, into independence, being solid. The British, in a way, taxed the farmers, but to build reserves. So at independence, Ghana had gone into independence with some substantial reserves. And the population wasn't much, about 6 million. Then reserves, almost $400 million for a tiny country like that.
That was a lot.
And we didn't know poverty in this country. There wasn't hunger. But by 62, when I came to Ghana, Ghana had started borrowing. And Nkrumah was an idealist. He wanted to industrialize immediately on going into independence. So he built schools all over the place, factories all over the place. And unfortunately, it didn't seem he took pains to ensure the factories were properly studied and that the managers were competent properly. It became more like jobs for the boys. And I believe that really contributed to the slumping of the economy. So by 62, we were already in debt seriously, and people were not happy. And then opposition was getting more and more strident against him. And the intolerance that came was what led to the one-party state that was launched, I think, 63 or thereabouts. And then, of course, the Preventive Detention Act had been passed 58, just a year after independence, with people like Amadou Baba and others being exiled. Amadou Baba was a Kumasi Hauserman with properties all over the place, but yet they sacked him, exiled him. So this was the divide. And it happened that I had grown up seeing all these things. So by 62, as a young lawyer, come and saw the economy that I had left not that bad, or not showing good promise. I think I got confirmed that
This is my calling.
Yeah, there was something I could do.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goil Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goil Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goil Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goil Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Ghana means business. Your story, our message.
Excellency, there's a man who, for a lot of us, still remains a mystery. And you were his deputy at a certain point in time. Mm-hmm. I'm referring to the Honorable Victor Owusu,
yes,
who you served as the Deputy Foreign Minister, and he was the substantive Foreign Minister at that time under Dr. Kofi Abrifa-Busia. Who and what kind of impact did Honorable Victor Owusu have on you? And what kind of politician, statesman, and lawyer was he?
Victor, I told you, was like a brother. His family, my family, had related from way back. And as a young lawyer, when I returned eventually to Ghana 65 January, it was to his chambers. I went, if you like, to do my pupillage, 65 January. And what I saw of him, already he was quite famed for brilliance as a lawyer. He did his homework thoroughly. He was the type that would even send for opinions. In those days, when he had a serious case, you do his homework thoroughly and ask for opinion from old lawyers in Britain, right, at a fee, so to prepare his cases. And so you went to court with Victor, and the judges sat up because the sort of references that you would make, the brilliance of his arguments, and he was also very eloquent and articulate, and also had a cutting edge to his tongue. When he had case, and he could be merciless, arguing. So he was famed for that. And he also carried himself very well, always smartly dressed. And when you worked with him, because of these attributes I've talked about, necessarily to really be on his right side, you had to do your homework. So that's the influence I got from his chambers, 65. I was there just 1 year. And then the soldiers overthrew Kwame Nkrumah, February 66. And the soldiers invited him to be the Attorney General of Ghana.
I see.
Straight away, NLC. So he left his chambers to another senior lawyer called Owusu, a good man, but very temperamental, and me. And when Nkrumah's coup happened, with Victor as Attorney General in Accra, the students at Tech who had rebelled against their Vice Chancellor, R.P. Bafo. There was a commission of inquiry the NLC set up under Justice Manu Planch. The students came to our chambers to engage us to appear for them. Osuya was the senior, but given the charged political thing, when Osuya went to the commission, I went with him. But early on in the commission, Owusu's temper came, And he argued rather in a way with Manyo Planch, and also recused himself, said he wouldn't appear before that man again. And it fell on me to hold brief for the students, if you could imagine. So I did it for a while, but I was tugged by the political opening. I also wanted to be part of the political evolution then. And so I appeared for the student for just about a year or so. Within the year, there was vacancy in Kumasi City Council. The town clerk, a brilliant solicitor called Mensa Bonsu, like Mensa Bonsu, I'm sure. Yes. Around 66, he had made his own plans to buy a British firm, a law firm called JJP, which represented Barclays, Obuasi Mines, and so forth and so.
I think never Chipeng was
he went to the. But Mensa Bonsu was leaving City Council to go, and his position was becoming vacant. So I told him I wanted to, because if you could manage City Council, then your political maturity wouldn't be in doubt at all. Absolutely. So I approached Mensa Bonsu that the first I was taken as deputy, but within the year Mensa Bonsu went, and the position of town clerk was advertised. I put in my application. There were 4 other applicants. But when the Public Service Commission came for the interview, they picked me. Okay. So I became town clerk 67 of Kumasi. That time I was about 28 or so. And I found myself sitting on top of an administration of about 4,000 workers. And with high-powered professionals like medical officer of health for the city, city treasurer, city engineer, conservancy, all of them, city education officers, they all worked to me. And then there was an interim management committee for the assembly, because within Nkrumah School, all the assemblies got dissolved. The interim committees were set up. Those committees, while in Kumasi, for instance, included people like Nano Pokuwari, the one who became Asante in 1970. Yes. He was there, Dr. Selby, Yawano, who was registrar, and all these people could be my fathers or uncles, but I was a town clerk.
Wow.
And for 3 years I held that office, and Kumasi was quite calm. Market, lorry stations, everything worked. That gave me stature. So 68, when the Constituent Assembly was set up to do the Second Republican Constitution, I wanted to represent Kumasi, but an earlier town clerk, in the person of Dr. Alex Martin, who had been invited by the soldier to be the local government commissioner for the NLC.
Is this Honorable Alex Martin's father?
Father.
I see.
And he was town clerk before Mensa Bonsu. And from Mensa Bonsu, I became town clerk.
Okay.
He was local government commissioner. And he expressed interest to represent Kumasi at the Constituent Assembly. So initially, I felt my ambition had been jinxed.
Yes.
And but then I looked around and remembered that Nkawie was the Achuma, which is. So I went back to that assembly. I put in my application to represent the district, and they elected me to come. So 68, 69 Constituent Assembly. I was both town clerk and member of Constituent Assembly. And that was when Professor Buzia had come back, and he was made the civic education advisor to the NLC. And I remember from meetings of the Constituent Assembly, we would retire to Professor's house in Odoko. That's where we founded the Progress Party. And I was a founding member. And then 69, when the soldiers pulled out and we had for civilian rule to come, we launched the Second Republican Constitution. I went back to Achimangwa to be member, to contest for the candidacy to become member of parliament. And again, I won there, 69. And Victor, who has been Attorney General, but who again fell out with, I believe, the NLC leadership, Afrifa also, had gone back I think into private practice.
Okay.
I stood for election at Aguna, which
His hometown.
had also won. So
The two of you met in
we
Parliament.
met back in Parliament under Professor Buzia, and Professor Buzia made Victor the Foreign Minister and made me Deputy Foreign Minister.
Wow. So what year was this?
69.
So you were about 31 years at this time.
I was moving to 31.
Every now and again, GhOIL makes good things happen. This time, GhOIL has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. GhOIL Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. GhOIL Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. GhOIL Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with GhOIL Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. GhOIL has that sorted. GhOIL, good energy.
Ghana means business. Your story, our message.
Excellency, Ghana suffered from 1972 to 1979. A coup d'etat that I believe set our democratic path way back. Excellency, please tell us, what was Ghana like after the overthrow of Buzia, and did the coup d'etat from 72 to 79, did it really derail our democracy and our development at that point in time?
I would say yes. You might suspect I'm talking from bias because I was a victim of that coup d'etat.
Okay.
I was held in detention. I was kept in Ashford prison for 15 long months.
15 months?
Yes, 1 year, 3 months. And it wasn't just me, it was all the members of government.
This is
most
under
of us.
Achampong.
Achampong. So naturally, I wouldn't have a kind word to say for him.
How was the experience like at Ashford?
So humiliating. Look, the initial days of the coup saw all the big names, including Pawele, William Ofrata, one of the big six, including Aram Ponsa, Darocha, GhMeansBiz, Safu, mention all of them. All of us were grabbed and pushed into Ashford. There's a hall they call infirmary. It's like, if you like, some clinic. But the hall is not bigger, not even as big as my sitting room here. And the initial stages, there were more than 40 of us thrown in there, sleeping on bunker beds, double beds. So big names. Probably firstborn was older than me. So my father, one of the big six, sleeping there, open hall. I've mentioned all the names. Dr. Jones Forata. Some of us were quite young, sleeping with all these things. And then at the end of this hall, it's an open shower with just about 3 or 4 showers. And then right by it, open toilets. Can you imagine? So many people crammed into this very limited space. And the first 2 or 3 months, we were held incommunicado. Our wives, nobody was allowed to visit us. So we were treated to prison fare, cassava, and some very light soup we call television soup. Oh. So bad. And we didn't know what we'd done wrong. And we thought the coup couldn't be popular because Buzia had laid the policies, rural development, modernized agriculture, even educational system, everything was decentralized local government system. Everything was shaping up. The only mistake I would call it like that because perhaps idealism overruled the whole thing, was that we had inherited an economy overladen with debt. And the creditors were not prepared to renegotiate and relax the system for government. And so I think Buzia was advised by people from IMF and things to do a devaluation. Unfortunately, the devaluation was done on the 27th of December, 2 days after Christmas. The Prime Minister said the decision was that we should do a devaluation. And the devaluation was so steep, 44%. And we were import-dependent economy. So you can imagine traders, the monies they put aside being slashed almost 50%. 50%. That was the...
So it made the government unpopular overnight.
Just like that. And Champon quickly grabbed this thing.
So he was riding on the mood.
Just grabbed it, and within 2 weeks or so after that, they stayed the coup, 13 January. So that was what they seized on to remove us. And then when they came on the scene, for instance, the agricultural policy that Buzia had programmed, first creating the Ministry of Rural Development, because he always maintained that the wealth of the country had come from the rural part, and yet the benefits were not fairly shared to benefit the rural. So he created the ministry, appointed late Lawyer Munfie, who traveled everywhere. And the idea was to open up the country with feeder roads, health centers, which he did. You go to anywhere in Ghana now, you see a health center, ask when it was done. All within the 2 years of Buzia's government. That's when it was started. And also the essential services, potable water, wells, and everything for the people, rural people. So they would focus on doing agric. And also to modernize agric, he appointed Dr. Safwedu, a medic, brilliant man, to try to modernize and also introduce mechanization, use extension services for the farmers, and also the marketing aspects. And Safwedu, I remember in Parliament, must have been 70 or so, saying that with this policy, we pursue within 3 years, Ghana would be self-sufficient in rice production. All these things were looking up. And then we were kicked out, 13 January 1972. A Champon came in, and they grabbed on this agricultural policy. They were smart, with late Benasco saying, Operation Feed Yourself.
Feed yourself, yes.
And then by 73, there was something like bumper harvest, and Ghanaians caught on to it. Champon, why are there? Operation Feed Yourself. Wherever was agric done, and within 1 year, we got a bumper harvest. It was all started in Buzia's time. But because the ideas were not a Champons, by 74-5, there was a dry up. And then the corruption seeped in. And then a Champion feared his own colleagues, and then they changed the NRC to SMC1, and then the corruption continued, and so forth and so on, until, is it 97 or thereabouts? It was
79.
79, coup came.
Folks, I'm glad you were here, and I know you didn't blink. You don't want to miss next week, the concluding and final part of this interview, when we put it all together and when the president speaks. This has been Ghana Means Business.